to Streams of Income. Hosted by best-selling author and entrepreneur, Dr. David Powers, where we discuss streams of income, passive income, residual income, and even why there are dinosaurs and zombies in this intro. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready to dive in.
Hey guys, Dr. Dave here, and welcome to another edition of the Streams of Income podcast. This may be a short one today. I'm not sure, but I wanted to run something by you. I've been doing KDP books for a very long time, and I was really excited when I first learned how to do it. And let's be honest, if you've been in KDP books for a while, you know what I'm talking about. In the old days, there was a lot more work to do to list a Kindle book. Talking different formats you had to put it into, ways that you had to attach pictures. I mean, it would take much longer in the old days. Some of my books that are still listed on KDP for sale are from those old days. I've been updating them slowly. Matter of fact, on my calendar every week, I don't always get to it, but it pops up as a to-do item. It says run an item through the grinder. And so that's just my own personal terminology for taking one of my products. And I love this format that I use, and you may want to use this, and you're more than welcome to copy this terminology because I copied it from somebody else. Matter of fact, I copied this from my buddy Travis Peters, and it's copy, paste, repeat. And so I've actually added a little bit to that: copy, paste, profit, repeat. And so what I like to do, my run through the grinder approach, is that I want to take something I've already created. And by running it through the grinder, I mean, let's take something already created, list it in another place, open up a completely new avenue of income. I don't consider this one another stream of income. I guess you could. It depends on how picky you want to get. But it's a product that's already been done. My stream of income, for me, author. That's this stream of income: author, content creator, whatever. But I like to take something and open it up to a new income source. And so on KDP, that's what I'm working on right now. Eventually, I'm going to move some of this stuff into other places, such as like I'm going to take some artwork out of some of my books and maybe turn those into t-shirts on Spreadshirt. Or I may just turn some of the artwork into memes that I can use to help sell those books, all kinds of different things. But it's stuff that's already been created. And here's the great thing also is some of this I've been turning over to my VA. My VA, Red, who lives in the Philippines, is pretty amazing, especially with graphics. And so a lot of the graphic stuff I turn over to her and let her work her magic. And she does it so much faster and better than I do. But today, what I want to focus on is Amazon KDP. And so in the old days, it started out, you could do a Kindle book. And so that was just Kindle. I mean, in the old days, I think it was only available on a Kindle device. Now, with the advent of apps, you can get the Kindle app and read Kindle books anywhere. Laptop, desktop, phone, tablet, wherever you want to partake in the technology and the books, you can do it there and do that with the Kindle books. Then it branched out. Maybe it was at the same time. I don't really remember, but you could do print books. And by print, I mean paperback books on Amazon. And then eventually, within the past couple of years, Amazon got to the point where you could do affordable hardbacks. And so now most of my books, they have to be a certain length. I think it's 75 pages to produce a book in hardback, but it needs to be 75 pages. And all my books, when I order author copies to keep on the shelf, I like to do that myself. You probably do too if you're an author. If you write a book, it's nice to have it on the shelf to show people, to look at every now and then. Also, when I'm revising a book, I like to hold the hard copy in my hand because I look at it differently in my hands than I would if I was just looking at it on the computer and revising it. So I like to hold that hard copy, and I use it for that as well. But let's be honest, the hardbacks of any kind of book, any kind of book you have, if you like to read, if you like to collect, if you like to write, hardbacks are much prettier on the shelf. They look better. They stack better. They're just, order the hardbacks. And so you can create your Amazon KDP books. And by KDP, that I should have stated that up front. KDP means Kindle Direct Publishing. It's pretty much the terminology for anything you publish on Amazon, book-wise. And so we went from Kindle to paperback to hardcover, and now the new one, which I think it's still in beta. You can see my screenshot if you're on the YouTube version of this podcast. Let me go back up to the top, and yeah, there it is at the top. Audible audiobook with a virtual voice, and so that's still in the beta stages as I produce this podcast. But used to, it was a lot of hard work. I mean, once you got into it, you could get the flow pretty well, but producing an audiobook was not easy. And not everyone has a voice for audio. You may be listening to me now saying, this dude does not have a voice for audio. Or you might be listening to me and saying, this dude has an amazing audio voice. And so I'll just leave that up to you. That's your opinion. I'm on here regardless. And you're listening to me, so you must be okay with it. But producing an audio version of your book was not always easy, or it could get incredibly expensive. Well, Amazon is in beta mode right now, but they have created a system that is pretty amazing where you can produce it. They're using AI, and you can produce your books in audio using their virtual voice system. So I thought, you know what? This is mainly going to be for the YouTube people with the podcast, because you can see what I'm doing. But hey, if you're following along on audio right now, you'll still learn some things. It may open up an entirely new stream of income for you just listening to this and getting into it on your own. So first thing, obviously, you need to do if you're publishing books is have a KDP account. If you don't, then you must not be publishing books on Amazon. That part's obvious. And so if you need some help getting started on that part, you need to let me know, get in touch, or just Google some of that info about getting started on KDP. You know, you're setting up an account, writing your book, formatting, all that good stuff. As always, you can always hire me for a coaching session. I'm still doing the $99 brainstorming sessions for an hour, so you're welcome to do that. I guarantee you walk away with the ability to make way more money than you're going to pay me for that 1 hour brainstorming session. So hopefully you're already signed up, though, if you're listening to this. If you're not, just keep listening. Maybe I'll be able to talk you into the point where you're going to want to sign up. And so in case you didn't know, Amazon purchased Audible. I'm not sure when they did that, but they purchased Audible. And now anything Audible is available through Amazon. You still have to pay a little extra for the Audible subscription, but man, the stuff you could do there is quite amazing. And I just purchased a book the other day. I started reading it yesterday, called Black Sheep by, I think Brent Menswar. It's an amazing book, but my friends keep telling me, man, you're going to enjoy that book, but you have got to buy the Audible version of it and listen to it. And apparently the author of Black Sheep actually has music and soundtrack and everything on the audio edition. Now, we're not going to do that today, but here's the thing. Audiobooks are making amazing strides right now, not only in what you can do with them, but in the audiences that are listening to them, because you can get the Whisper Sync, I believe it's called, on Amazon. I don't use some of the stuff, so that's why I'm a little iffy on the right terminology and everything, but you can set it up where, let's say you're listening to an Audible book in the house, on a desktop or from your TV even, and you go out to your car. Well, if you've got one of the Amazon Echoes or Amazon Dot in your car, it syncs it up, and you can start your book right back at the same place in your car. And so it's kind of neat. It's kind of convenient. I don't use a lot of that because I like the separation sometimes between tech and no tech. And to be honest with you, sometimes I just like to go no tech in a lot of ways. It's still pretty cool, though. And so let's go ahead and enter in this process. If you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see everything I'm doing on the screen share. If you're listening along, just take notes if you need to, and then check up on the YouTube version of this podcast later. But you can see here, this book that I'm going to mess with today is called The Real Pickens County Horror. And so Mike Mignola, the guy that created Hellboy, wrote a series of comic books quite a few years ago called the Pickens County Horror. And so it's set in the Hellboy universe. But the really neat thing about those books is that they take place near my house. And so in Pickens County, South Carolina, and there are actually settings within his books, in the comic books, that I can point to near my property, a town next door to my town that's actually visualized in the comic book. And so what I did is I have a hip campsite on my farm here. I'll talk about it a lot because it's really fun to operate. But I advertise my hip camp as the place where the Pickens County horror part of it happened. And so I advertised my haunted barn where people can stay. And so what I did was I created this companion book called The Real Pickens County Horror. And so what's in here is references to Mike Mignola's original work in the comic book, but also maps to some of the locations he talks about in the comic book. I mean, you think some of this stuff is fake and made up and not real that you see in comic books and movies. And well, let's be honest, if you know, you know, a lot of it is based on fact. And, even if you don't believe in ghosts and boogeymen and monster fungus and vampires and stuff like what's in the comic book, there are still some scary, spooky things that take place, and this book's based on some of those things. Well, I want to turn this into an audiobook. The option is right there. You can see it on the screen. Add audiobook with virtual voice. Now, that's kind of cool. You'll see when I dig into it what virtual voice means. So let's just click the button and see where we go. All right, and so any of these pauses where the computer's spooling up and my low-speed internet because I'm off the grid for the most part, when that's running slow, I'll just fill the space with my words and you can play along. But the screen's up, and so now we're on a page that says audiobook with virtual voice. And like I said, as I'm filming this and doing the audio here, it's still in beta mode. So Amazon still has this in beta mode. So usually what that means is they're trying it out. They're letting us try it out and make some money. And I'll be honest with you, the audiobook with virtual voice beta mode has already made me almost as much money as my print books. In the past 2 months, I've made almost as much income from audiobooks as I do with my print books. I'll say that one more time because that's pretty important. Because I was talking about how many people are listening to audiobooks these days. I made almost as much income in the past 2 months from audio as I do with my print books. That's pretty amazing. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, so we're going to scan down the website here, create an audiobook with virtual voice. It's computer-generated narration for audiobooks. Your ebook provides the relevant details, and that's things like author, categories, things like that. And you select how it'll sound. Now, this is pretty cool. I'm going to play a couple of these for you. I got my volume turned all the way up. You may not be able to hear it well, but hopefully you will. So it's choosing virtual voice number 5, which is a feminine voice, age 30 to 40. Actually, all these ages are 30 to 40, but I can choose between several different masculine or feminine voices, and I can choose British English. I obviously speak it very well, being raised here in America. British English or American English. And so I want this to be American because it's about an American place. So let's see what virtual voice number 1 sounds like.
His manner was not effusive. It seldom was, but he was glad.
All right, so let's compare that to another feminine American English voice.
His manner was not effusive. It seldom was, but he was glad, I think, to see me.
All right, that one sounded a little more Americana to me than the first one. The first one sounded more, I don't know, it sounded more regal, like almost like British English, like almost quite there, but it was classified as American. I think I like virtual voice number 5 so far. A little, almost even maybe a little bit country, but enunciated very well. Let's try number 7, which is also a feminine American English.
His manner was seldom was, but he was.
Yeah, I'm still liking that second one, but you know what? Let's try out some of the masculine voices and see what they sound like.
His manner was not effusive. It seldom was, but he was glad.
All right, there's one. Let's try another one.
His manner was not effusive. It seldom was, but he was glad, I think.
All right, and there's one more masculine American English voice to try out.
His manner was not effusive. It seldom was, but he was glad, I think, to see me.
Oh man, this is going to be a hard choice. I like the second American English female voice and also that last one that I just played. I'm not even sure if I want this book to sound masculine or feminine. I think I'm going to go with masculine just because it's written by me, and when people read this book, if they come to visit my hip camp, they're going to meet me. And so I think I'm going to go with that. That way it kind of just goes along more with the brand. The neat thing is also, I also keep a PDF copy of this entire book, and so anybody that stays at the hip camp, I have an entire package of scary stories. I've got several scary storybooks that other people have written that I own the copyrights to. This book right here, I send it all to them on PDF. Basically, when they register for a hip camp, I send them a package of books, and that way they can have all the maps, all the scary stories, and my goal pretty much is when they stay here at my hip campsite, my haunted barn, that they stay up all night, don't get much sleep, and are afraid of every noise they hear. And let me tell you, out in that barn, there's a lot of noises because at night, the little lizards come out. You can hear them crawling in the leaves. They're not dangerous. I mean, if you're from this area, you realize they're just little lizards. You can play with them. But when the squirrels come out and the raccoons and stuff like that, man, they make so much noise. And there's a tin roof on that barn. And so if the squirrels run on top of that thing or a walnut falls on top of that thing, it is scary and it's so much fun. All right, so we're going to choose virtual voice number 6. I'm going to play this for you one more time so you see what this voice is going to sound like. I don't actually get to hear my book. I would have to buy it to hear it. And, I don't see the need to spend the money on that. So I'm going to play this voice for you one more time. And basically, this is the voice that my book would be heard in.
His manner was not abusive. It seldom was, but he was glad I read to see me.
And that's it. That's the voice. And so let's scan on down. All right, KDP will create your audiobook cover from your current Kindle book cover. Okay, that's good. That's good. Let's see, KDP Select. That's a special program that you can enroll your Kindle books into. By Kindle, I mean any of them, print, hardback, whatever. Let's see. My book is not currently enrolled KDP Select. Okay, can't do that. All right, then we get down to pricing and royalties. So that's one great thing about Amazon is they basically tell you, not basically, they do. They tell you, here's what your book costs to create. Here's what your book needs to sell for, because Amazon wants to make some money too. Let's be honest, they want to make a lot of money. And I'm fine with that because I get a good chunk of it, and I'm perfectly okay with that as well. Because once again, this is a small amount of work. I would have already finished this if I wasn't filming this video for you guys. It's a small amount of work for me to open up an entirely new stream of income with something I've already created. So once I finish this process right here and hit publish or whatever the button at the bottom is going to say, I'm making money for doing nothing else. At that point, it's become passive, residual, however you want to think about it. And so when I look at the audiobook list price, they're telling me that this one must be between $3.99 and $14.99. Now, here's the thing. This book, if it was a longer book with a lot of writing, a lot of prose inside of it, I would price it higher for the audiobook version. I'm going to price this one rock bottom, though, and I'll tell you why. And this is the strategy with, you can use different ideas you want to. My strategy is, I know that this book has a lot of images in it. And so I don't want to price it high and then the buyer, be disappointed because, oh, okay, I bought this audiobook and there's hardly any audio because it's full of pictures. Well, I don't want that to happen. So I want them to pay the least amount so that they get it. And to be honest with you, what I want most is for them to either go ahead and then buy a print version, or even better, because the wording is in my book, I want them to book my hip campsite, and I'll send it all to them for free anyway, and they can enjoy the fun of staying up all night being scared that the skinwalkers are going to eat them in the middle of the night. That's what I want. Not the eating part, but for them to stay and be scared. So we're going to price this at $3.99, $3.99. There we go. And so as soon as I do that, Amazon auto-fills this little chart. And so I'll read this for you guys that are listening to the audio. All right, so purchase type on a standalone. So if they buy my standalone copy of this, I will get 40% of that, which will be $1.60 per book. All right, if they do, that's the standalone audio version. So if they buy this on Audible, I get $1.60 per item. That's a 40% royalty rate. If they add the ebook, so you see, they can add the Kindle version of this book for another $1.99, and Amazon sets this up. This part, the ebook add-on. So I'll get 40% of that as well. And so I'll get another 80 cents if they add on the Kindle version of that. Now, if they, there's also a thing here it says for audible.com. That's if they go through audible.com instead of amazon.com, I'll still get $1.60. And so that's pretty awesome. All right, so we go further down. And so let's see, virtual voice studio. And so I can prepare and modify how my audiobook is narrated. I don't mess with that. I'll be honest with you. I didn't want to get into that part of it. That's why I've never done audiobooks before. And so what I do is I just let Amazon do their thing, and I don't mess with the narration or how it's done. If somebody comes back to me and complains about the book, or if they say that, hey, something's wrong with this, it sounds like crap, then I may go in and edit it some, see what's going wrong. But I've not had any complaints so far. Nothing but happy customers and money in my pocket. And so I'm going to go on down and you'll see the buttons here. Publishing your audiobook. It can take up to 72 hours for your audiobook to publish and appear on Amazon and Audible. Both your ebook and audiobook will be uneditable until published. And so that's normal, 72 hours, so a couple days, and not, well, more than a couple, a few. But that's normal when you publish Kindle books, print books, hardbacks. Basically Amazon reviews the book to make sure it's going to work, to make sure the format is good, all that good stuff. So I'm going to hit the button that says Publish Audiobook, and let's see what happens. All right, it's saving. Let's see. Start and end reading locations are required. See, I don't even know what that means. And so let's see, let's scan back up and see if that's something I need to take care of. Okay, start and end reading locations are required. Okay, so basically something's up with the book itself with the audio file. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video and everything here. This is not normal, and I think it's mainly because this book has so many images inside of it. And so I'm going to have to wait. If you're watching the screen right now, you can see the little spinny thing where it says preparing audio file. It's going to take a while for that to finish preparing this audio file. And so when it does, I'll go in and I'll click the buttons that add a start and ending reading location to the book. Basically, it just tells Amazon where to start the audio narration and where to stop it. For the most part, I'm going to want it to carry all the way through because there's a table of contents, other things in there that I want included. And you don't really need to do that. Like I said, this isn't normal. Most books, that's not even going to pop up. When you hit publish audiobook, it'll remind you, wait 72 hours before you start looking for it. And it's that easy. So if you have any questions, as always, feel free to hit me up. Questions about the audiobook beta system, questions about anything with Kindle publishing. Like I said before, it's one of my main income streams. It's actually one of my longest running income streams as well. And one thing I really like about it is I will usually publish, I've published up to a dozen books a month before, public domain books I've written, books for other people. I actually have a publishing company now. I've published so many books from other people. And so I have my own publishing company called Pressure Tested. And so that's actually, you can find that at pressuretested.com. And if you ever want to, look into publishing a book, but don't want to do the work yourself, feel free to hit me up. I can have somebody from my team help you with that. Or me. It depends on the book. If it's something I really, really want to work on because I'm interested, I'll do that myself and you get some personal attention. But I really suggest and recommend KDP Books, Kindle. It's an amazing way to print books. And one thing I really hate to run into is people that want to write a book and never do anything about it. Or they just they want to write a book and they talk about it a lot, but that's as far as it goes. Or there's like pages and pages of notes somewhere that they've just never worked with. So a lot of times what I will do is I'll actually help somebody put together the outlines and all that kind of stuff and say, hey, here's what's missing. I've got a friend right now that's writing a medical book, and she approached me to do that. And she actually sent me a sample table of contents the other day, asking me like, hey, as far as the table of contents goes, what I want to put in this book, what do you think's missing? And so a few suggestions later, and she is busy writing and dictating and all that kind of stuff that's needed to publish this book. So you definitely need to be an author. I'm saying that to all of you. About everyone I know needs to be an author. You've got something that needs to get written down. And the great thing beyond just getting all that written down, saving the memories, saving the stories, getting your opinions out there, is that you can make some amazing income doing it. So this is Dr. Dave signing out from this edition